Hello, my name is Bruno LaRosa, and I am a student at Arizona State University. And today I'd like to talk to you about growing carnivorous plants. My learning objectives today are twofold. First, what is a carnivorous plant? And second, how might I be able to grow one? And on the right, I have 5 main points that I want to highlight. So first, a little bit of background on carnivorous plants, their natural habitat, background on two species in particular, the basic needs for their growth, where you can actually find them, and then also some resources that can help you along the way. First, what is a carnivorous plant? Well, a carnivorous plant is a plant that has evolved to capture and kill and digest insects. And they exist all over the world, from the sandy beaches of Australia to the bogs of North Carolina to all kinds of parts in Africa. Now, these plants, they all evolved carnivory independently, so it's a pretty common adaptation. And a lot of horticulturalists love to grow carnivorous plants. It's kind of a niche hobby, and I'm also one of them. So the 3 main points for carnivorous plants, they must capture and kill their prey, they must have a way to digest that prey, and then finally they have to extract the nutrients from them. And there are 3 main capturing mechanisms. First are the snap traps. So those are like your Venus flytraps. They sense an insect and then they snap shut on it and then digest it. Well, there are also the sticky traps, and those are the sundews pictured here. They have these tentacles that secrete a really sticky substance, and when an insect lands on them, they can wrap around it and digest it. Then there are also the pitcher plants, which is a little simpler mechanism. Essentially, an insect walks by, falls into a pitcher, drowns, and is digested. So then the question is, why would plants even evolve carnivory? Is there some kind of benefit? So I'll let you answer the question. Well, if you answered it's because they grow in nutrient-poor regions, you'd be correct. So it turns out that most of the habitats for these carnivorous plants are very nutrient poor. Water flows through the soil, drawing away any of the essential minerals for the plants to grow. But it turns out there are plenty of packets of nutrients all over the place. Those are the insects. They harbor a lot of very good nutrients. So the thing is that these plants, they do not require carnivory to survive on their own. They do need a lot of light for photosynthesis, but the only reason they need carnivory is to gain enough energy to flower and reproduce. So the first carnivorous plant I want to talk about are Venus flytraps, and they use that snap mechanism. So they have these trigger hairs in their traps. There are 3 of them on each lobe here, and say a fly walks around and is trying to gather some nectar here on the rims. Well, sometimes it'll touch those trigger hairs, and if it touches 2 in sequence in the span of about 8 seconds, the trap snaps shut and quickly, enclosing the insect. Then, over a couple of hours, it clamps really tightly and starts to digest enzymes that break down the insect. And over 1 to 2 weeks, the insect is digested. And after that time, the trap opens, revealing the carcass of the insect, and is ready for another victim. Now, the Venus flytraps are native to the Carolinas, specifically North Carolina, and they do have a winter dormancy. So in the winter, they die off, and then in the spring, they start to come back. Now, the sundews, they use that sticky mechanism. An insect will fly onto one of these leaves and touch one of the tentacles, and it'll get stuck. It won't be able to fly away. And as it struggles, it'll bump into other tentacles. And the plant senses this. So then all of the tentacles eventually wrap around the insect really tightly and then secrete their digestive enzyme. Now, the sundews are found all over the world. They're very common. They're the most common carnivorous plant. And they really like warm temperatures and high humidity. Now, how to grow Venus flytraps and sundews? First, they require a certain kind of soil. They have to be grown in a drained pot because, like I said before, the water needs to flow through the roots and get rid of like any excess nutrients. And also, the soil must be sphagnum moss, which is a type of moss that retains water really, really well. You could also use peat. which is compressed dead organic matter. It's pretty common. We found it at Home Depot, actually. As for water, they must have distilled water only, because if they have any water, say from the tap here in Arizona, the salts, the minerals will fry the roots because they're not evolved to extract nutrients and salts from the ground. And it's important to keep the soil moist but not waterlogged. So my second question is, why might that be? Why is it important to keep the soil moist but not waterlogged? Well, if you answered that it's because they need proper drainage to avoid rotting, you'd be correct. If you add too much water, just like with any plant, from a cactus to, say, a moon plant, too much water will cause bacteria to accumulate in the soil and eventually it will rot the roots, killing the plant. Now, as for sunlight, carnivorous plants, they absolutely love full sun, as much as possible, because the reason being is they don't have enough energy from other sources. They need to do a lot of photosynthesis. And also, as for temperature and humidity, they can be kept at room temperature, but they prefer it a little warmer, from 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. You can keep them inside a terrarium to maintain some humidity, or outside if your climate allows it. So then, good question is, which one of these places would be suitable for carnivorous plants to grow in outside? Well, if you answered SoCal or San Diego, you'd be correct. And the reason being is that it's actually quite humid in California, and so lots of carnivorous plants are very readily grown outside. Whereas in Arizona, not so much, and probably not Wyoming either. It's too cold, too hot, respectively. So where might someone find carnivorous plants? Well, there are two options. You could try finding an online vendor or finding an in-person specialized nursery. And there are three here that I'd recommend: California Carnivores, Native Exotics, and Carnivorous, all in three different states. And here's a picture of California Carnivores. It's actually a lovely place. And you can also find one in the standard convenience store, the home improvement stores. They have these fly traps and something called in the community death cubes. And the reason being is that most people, when they buy these fly traps as a novelty, the plants are destined to die because no one knows how to take care of them. But with the advice I've just shown you, you can actually just water the plants and repot them in a more suitable media, and they will thrive. So to help you in your journey, I provided some resources here. There are a couple of forums, the International Carnivorous Plant Society forum and Flytrap Care forums. Now, Flytrap Care forums is a wonderful community where other members who have excess seeds provide them for free to other people. So you can simply reach out to someone and they will send you a packet of seeds through the mail, and you can grow them using the techniques that I taught you, and it'll be just a wonderful thing to have, that kind of exchange. And there are also a couple of resources: the International Carnivorous Plant Society and the Carnivorous Plant Resource, both of which provide really good backgrounds. There's also a book for novice growers called The Savage Garden. It's known as the Bible of carnivorous plants in the community. That one's also very good. And then also California Carnivores, a highly reputable and trusted vendor. So all the pictures in this presentation were taken by me. I've been growing carnivorous plants for about 10 years now. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Here is my email, and I'd be happy to help you on your journey. And that is it.